Hello, everyone. I am Anushka,
I'm Nida.
and this is Girl Up GMA. Welcome back to our Sheroes podcast. And today we have someone very special with us.
Today we have with us a lady who's inspired us from a very young age. Her WordPress blog never ceases to leave us with food for thought, be it talking about more complex and hard-hitting issues like the, the harsh beauty standards girls have to face, or talking about the small ways in which we encourage gender stereotypes in even small things like hobbies and passions. We have with us today Mrs. Sudha Subramanian. Thank you so much for joining us, ma'am.
Oh, you're welcome. Anything for Gallup.
Thank you so much. So,
Yeah.
Sudha Auntie,
Yes.
being an Indian woman who is so vocal about women's issues, in today's
Yes.
world, what is the biggest gender-based discriminatory issue that women face?
Okay. So first of all, thank you for having me. We're talking about gender disparity and pay parity, everything. But I think deep down, what we're all talking about is not even feminism. Somehow, I think over the years, I have realized that we should not be talking about feminism anymore. We should be talking about humanism, where we are not talking about somebody who has to be equal. Everybody has to be equal, whether it is a woman, a girl, somebody who has a different color, some comes from a different race, anybody. So I think if we move we probably aren't there as yet, because getting there is a long journey, and it is about readjusting certain ideas in the society at the grassroots level. For example, and yes, there is a huge gap as well. See, for example, when we work with Sevalia, the NGO that we very closely work with, I speak to a lot of girls, and for them the biggest dream is to get married. So although in India, a girl cannot get married should get married only after 18. We're still struggling with girls getting married at 17. So there are a lot of so I don't think there is one thing. For different people, it is different thing. So there is not one problem that we are dealing with. We are dealing with problems at every level. Sometimes inside the house, sometimes outside the house, sometimes at school, sometimes at shopping malls, everywhere. So I don't think we can bracket this as just one problem. There is a problem. The biggest challenge I think we have overcome is to say that, okay, we have a problem. We need to address this. So I think that is a good thing. So yeah, I don't think there is just one problem. We have many problems.
Absolutely. I think we have to agree on that one. And there's definitely a different issue at each level, as you said, in each level of society, in each socioeconomic bracket. So yes, I think it is difficult to pick one problem because there's so many different problems that affect people differently. So
Yes.
we'd have to agree there.
Yes.
So Sid studies with us, and I must say he's such a lovely, lovely friend, a lovely batchmate. He's always so respectful towards each and every one of us. Ma'am, what was the one thing that you always taught him as a mother to make sure that he knew that just because someone is a girl or just because he's a boy doesn't mean they're different in any aspect in terms of what they can do and what they can achieve?
I think it's such a great question. Because I have to rewind like many years before. So when I was married and before I had said, so we're talking like 99, 98, that time. And at that time, somebody asked me, what would you like? Would you like to have a girl or a boy? And without batting an eyelid, I said, I want to have a boy. And everybody was so surprised. They said, oh my God, you are a feminist. You are always so vocal, and you want to have a boy? So that moment I said, no, I want to have a boy simply because I think there is it is not about girls having problems. I think I want to have a challenge where I teach someone what it is to respect women. So at least with Sid, and I hope I have instilled some amount of respect, because I have spoken to him about growing up in India, about having to face gender discrimination, about being eve teased, traveling in a crowded bus and people misbehaving with you, bottom pinching, everything. So I have been very vocal about him, and I have spoken to him about this in great detail, simply because I think it's very important for boys to understand how horrible it is, how it makes a woman feel. So I hope and I believe, I hope that by hearing my stories, at least a boy like Sid will understand what it feels like to be treated that way. And I hope he doesn't do it. So I think it's very important for mothers. I think they have a huge responsibility, because women are a lot more emotionally mature. They understand things emotionally a lot better than men do. So I think that is why the onus is on women, and to be vocal to their children, to be able to tell them what it feels like when they're being treated that way. And again, I don't know if I've said all the right things. So, because it's like Michelle Obama says, it's not about what you become, it's about becoming constantly. It's a daily thing. So I hope whenever there is an opportunity, as long as he lives, he will continue to instill, imbibe, and follow whatever values, or at least he understands that, okay, my mom felt this way, so I shouldn't be doing it. I hope he does that. And if he does that at every single moment or every single opportunity, then I think, yes, we have achieved somewhere. So we've done something right. So yeah.
Absolutely. I think that's so right, that it is a mother's responsibility to teach her child first, and to teach both her children, not just tell her daughters that, the world is not a safe place for you and you need to take care of yourself, but also teach her son that, you have to respect the women around you.
Yes. And I think the words that we use should be powerful enough. I don't know why we hesitate to tell boys that you cannot do it. I think those are the words we need to use. It's not about telling them you have to respect or you should do that. While it's important to tell them that, I think you have to say it in so many words and say, you can't do it. It's simply that. You cannot do it. And that's all it is there. It's not rocket science. It's simple words. Don't do it. That's it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And Sid is such an avid supporter of Girl Up GME. We can always turn to him whenever we need someone's backing or an article. So thank you so much, Sudha Aunty, for always inculcating the right values in him. And he's a really amazing friend for all of us.
Thank you.
So, ma'am, you've been very vocal about the unrealistic beauty standards that society has set for women. So could you tell us a little bit about how you think we can change these standards?
I think one of the most important things that we all have to do is to be able to forgive ourselves. I say this with all humility, because I think one of the reasons we set a lot of unrealistic expectations out of our own selves, and we should be able to accept for who we are truly, than to say somebody has set this standard. I think while there are these people and they are out there to sell a product and it is not correct and it's not good, we can't change the entire world. While we can call them out, we can't ask them to change their standards entirely. They have to be doing that. I don't know if they will, but I think it's also important for us to be able to be more accepting of ourselves, and say that if this is what it is, suppose I am dark, I'm fair, I have long hair, I don't have hair, whatever it is, I am good enough. And I think it's very, very important for all of us to do that. When I was diagnosed with breast cancer and when I lost all my hair, I think the important point was I had to wear a wig, not for others. It was at that point of time, my child was very young and he didn't understand what it was. And that was the only reason I had to wear it. And one day when I wore it, and I remember it was really hot, it was summer, and I was sweating profusely. And this kid came up and said, "Why do you have to wear it if it is so hot?" And that's when I realized, I am putting myself through a lot of things, just assuming that this is what others want of me. It may not be that. I can simply abandon it and do whatever I have to do. And I think that's the message I took away. And this is the message I still follow. It's very important to forgive ourselves, to say, to be more accepting of ourselves, and say that if this is who we are, this is who we are, and we're happy about it. So yes, the industry has very high standards for women, unfortunately so, but I think if we have to grow above that. They are there to sell a product, and they're not out there to sell the person on that product. So
yes, I think that's such an important point. And I love the fact that you brought up even your own personal experience after going through breast cancer, because I think that's something that a lot of people tend to overlook. I think every woman does have their own struggles with body image and self-consciousness, but I think sometimes we forget that when you go through a chronic illness like cancer, especially when you undergo chemo and you lose your hair, the sort of effects that has as well, I think we tend to overlook that. So thank you so much for bringing that up as well.
No worries.
In the beginning of the interview, you spoke about being a girl who grew up in India. Now, you appreciate that the Indian society as a whole has progressed a decent amount. It still has a long, long way to go. But ma'am, how was it different when you were growing up? And what were the kind of limitations that society placed around you to say that, okay, you can't do this, you can only do this?
Actually, it's such a great question, because I grew up in a very small village in India, in south of India, and nobody knows this village. I wonder if you can still find it on a map. Actually, I should do that one of these days. So when I was growing up in that village, I had a cricket bat. I still don't know how. I mean, I think it was my dad who introduced me to cricket, and he took me to a store and he bought me a cricket bat. And we were a bunch of girls, and we used to play cricket. We actually played gully cricket in that village, and nobody, the girls did not run around. But I think it was my dad who didn't think any differently of me than any other person. I remember the time when I was taken to a temple, even when I had my periods. My dad said, "Okay, it's just a period. I mean, you should be going to a temple." Where to this day, it's a taboo to enter a temple or to enter any prayer hall when you are menstruating. I give full marks to my dad, but the problem is when you're growing up in a household that does not think any different of you, but you're surrounded by a lot of people who think the ultimate goal for a woman is to get married, have a family, and that's where the dream ends. I'm always confused why a dream should end there. And we are talking about 21, 22, 23, and this was the upper limit, upper age bracket those days. So that's where the dream ends. So after that, what happens to a woman? I don't know. Probably she stops living or what. But this part always had this confusion in me. I didn't know where I belong. Do I belong to this person? Do I belong to the world, which is very liberating, where I'm allowed to do whatever I want to do? Or should I just get married and start a family? So I think this disparity was there. And I can see this divide even to this day in a lot of places in India. And this is something that I think a lot of women struggle with. The struggle of identity, to understand whether I'm liberated, I'm free to do what I want, or my goal is to get married, have a family. And that's where it ends. So I think this is something that we need to address. And this is one of the things we again do in Sevalya, where we try to tell girls that there is a world out there where there are women who are able to go out and they have been able to achieve a lot of things. But it's very important for those girls to see this world. They don't know this world. I mean, I can completely relate with them, because I didn't know that such a world existed. Because for me, it was discovery. I found people who were going for work, who were able to climb the Mount Everest, who were able to play tennis. I mean, for me, I thought it happened in a different world where Steffi Graf and Martina Navratilova played. It didn't happen in my world. Somebody else did it. But for me to be able to see that this can happen around around the people I know, that was a revelation. And I think India still struggles with that. I don't know how we will ever be able to bridge this gap, but at some point in our lives, we all have to do that. And we need to bridge this so that a person can cross over from one place to the other and vice versa. So yeah, to answer your question, yes, it was a confusing world.
Absolutely. I think a few of our friends last year went to an NGO and they came back and they were like, we went there and the first question that the girls there asked us was, oh, how old are you? And the second follow-up question was, okay, so you're 16, 17. Are you married? Do you have kids? And for them, that was like culture shock because they were like, how are you married? If you're our age, you can't legally be married either.
Yes. And you'll be surprised to know when I was growing up, when I was in my grade 8, grade 9, and in grade 10, all the 3 years, I have attended weddings of my classmates. And in grade 9, or was it in grade 10? I can't remember. So I actually went to the hospital to see my friend who had just delivered a baby. I am still unable to get over that. I still cannot get over that. By the way, that friend of mine is now a grandmother. So legacy continues.
Oh, I can't even imagine such a scenario.
So that is the India that. So I always see. So that is the India that I'm still trying to understand. That divide, where there is a population like this, and there's a population who have gone ahead, who have done remarkable things, who have broken barriers, who have achieved the impossible. And there is this India that is still trying to find its feet and understand what are my goals. They don't even know they can have a dream. And this is what I think all of us, we all have a duty to instill dreams, to give them the power to dream, the possibility that they can have a life like this. So yeah. I think that's what we all need to do.
That was beautifully put. So Dati, like you, there are so many incredible women out there today who are speaking up about important issues, who are feminists in their own right. And I think in today's world, we've definitely seen that the feminist movement has advanced to a considerable extent. There definitely has been quite a huge movement for women's rights around the world. So do you think that with this constant struggle for rights and this constant fight that we see women fighting every day, that there has been some improvement in the situation and that girls are less susceptible to being victims to gender bias?
I don't know. I don't want to call this a struggle, because struggle puts a lot of negative energy there, and struggle also feels like it's very hard. It's not hard. It's easy. It can be achieved, and it's more about it's a combination of many things. Number one, it's about our own understanding of what we are capable of, to be able to say it's okay. So, I always whenever I visit people, I always think when the family goes out for they have an outing, they come back, everyone is tired. Invariably, the woman goes and gets water or gets some juice or gets the food. And I am yet to come across a household where this does not happen. And whenever I see this, I always say, why can't you go and do it? So women need to speak out and say, I am tired. I want to put my feet up. And it's okay to say that. The problem is, I think somewhere we are too afraid to say we are tired or we cannot do this. I think we are too afraid to say that. And I think it's okay to say that. It's okay to say that we can be tired, we have issues, our leg hurts, our knees hurt, and we can have a headache after a long day of outing. We can be tired. So I think that's that. The second thing is, we should be able to allow the men to do chores around the house. I I always get complimented for getting my son to do some work around the kitchen. And I'm thinking, what's the big deal? I did it. It's no different for him. Arey, he's doing it. I said, so what? He needs to do. It's a life skill. He needs to know how to clean the damn plate. If he doesn't know that, how will he get around in this world? What's the point in knowing all this complicated formula when you cannot clean your own plate? It's as simple as that. So I think it's a combination of many things. I think it's about understand. It's not a struggle. It's about teaching others that there are these ways where you can help. You don't even have to help out, because it's their house too. They live in this house. And many times people tell me, does he help out at home? I said, no, he doesn't help out. He does his job. He has, because he lives in this house. He has to do it. It's not a privilege. It's not a choice. We all have to share the chores. So you don't do it because you help out people at home. You do it because it's your chore. It's your damn responsibility to do it. So instead of calling it struggle, I'd like to call it raising awareness, learning, and to have the ability to say, yes, sometimes you have to do things around and it's okay. So I wouldn't want to call it a struggle. It's a combination of many things, and that's when we will see the light at the end of the tunnel. It's a long journey. I cannot see something drastically happening by tomorrow or day after, but it will happen. But it's gradual, and we need to be patient. I hope to see it by the end of my lifetime. And that's the dream that I have. So let's see.
I think that's all of our dreams at this point. I think we're really hoping that this movement really sees a good light of day, and that there is definitely hope at the end of the tunnel, and that the tunnel is of a considerably short length, I think, at this
short
point.
length.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think talking about the negative connotation to the word struggle, what would be one positive change that you've noticed from, let's say, when you were a 16-year-old to now when your son is 16, one positive change in this direction where you feel like women have progressed and men have supported their progress?
The first thing is we are able to talk about it. That's a huge thing. Because when I was growing up, I still remember, I mean, this is not even long back. I'm talking about 2 decades ago. And when I say these things, my son rolls his eyes. Did that really happen? So yeah, it happened. So we're talking about 2 decades ago, when it was impossible to have even a film, a movie, where a woman could raise her voice. There was one odd movie here and there. It was okay for men to flirt. It was okay for men to philander. It was okay for them to do a lot of things. There were advertisements, and there was a whole lot of things. I remember, so even if you take movies, I think just even about 2 decades ago, the women could not say the husband's name. Why go till there? Even I couldn't say my husband's name when I got married. And the first thing everybody said, you're calling him by his name. I said, yes, he has a name, because he needs to be called out. I don't want to be on a street, in a crowded street, and say, hello, hello, and 10 people look around. No, I want to call out to my husband. So that's why he has a name. So I think we have come a long way. So we are able to have a meaningful talk, a meaningful dialogue, and which is a huge plus considering from where we started. And I think that's really positive. We're able to say things like, I mean, I have written articles about why we should not circulate this funny WhatsApp jokes where women, I don't know why women are always bad in math. I have no idea why. Somehow, just because you belong to the feminine gender, you don't become bad in math. Just because you are a woman, you cannot be made. You are made fun of. You only shop. You are only worried about looks. And these stereotypes. I constantly write about that, and I hope I'm heard. But the big plus is I'm able to say those things, which I could not have said a long time ago. I mean, I would have been said, "Oh, get on with it and move on. It's just a simple thing." But now I'm able to say it. And I think that's a huge plus. And we've come a long way. Of course, we have miles to go, but yeah, we've come a long way.
I think, ma'am, your voice is heard because I personally remember reading your article about why girls are, said to be artistic and inclined towards the arts, and
Yes.
boys are supposed to be playing sports and they're supposed to be good at math and physics. And I mean, especially I remember when I got my board result, and a lot of my family was calling to congratulate me, and they said, "So I'm hoping you took chem and bio and not math and physics." And that was quite shocking because I mean, if I don't take a subject, it's because I don't want to take it, not because I'm a girl. And that was just something that really shocked me.
Yes. So I think this mindset is not going to go away very easily. It's going to be, see, I think there's a lot of people who still are struggling. So there's a constant struggle in their heads. This is what some people are saying, but this is what we have always understood. So there is a struggle there. And for them to overcome one over the other, it's not going to be easy. It's going to be hard, but we will all get there eventually. Hopefully, very soon.
Yes, and I think the more number of times we have these sort of conversations, and the more times we force people to confront some of the beliefs that they've grown up with and some of the things that they've learned, and then sort of set them on that journey of unlearning the things that they've grown up with. I think that's the most important part of this entire movement. And it's also the most difficult part, because it's very difficult to change sometimes ideals that have been rooted in your mind right from the very beginning. But hopefully, as long as women like you are raising the next generation this well, I'm sure there definitely will be real change very, very soon.
Hope so.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us, ma'am. It was such a pleasure to have you here with us today.
It was my pleasure too. I'm glad I could speak about some things that are very close to my heart, and I keep talking about it all day long. And today I'm new set of people to talk to, and I'm happy about it.
Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you very soon.
Yes, you're most welcome. Bye-bye.